I wouldn't touch a stock. I don't touch mutual funds. I don't touch ETFs. You know why? Because it only makes them rich. If you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, it says your house is not an asset. Why? Because for 30 years when you own that house, you're sending money to the bank, right? So when you have a 401k or a retirement plan and all this, and let's say you start at 20 and you're going to retire at 65. For 45 years, you're going to send that money to buy stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, and savings. Stupid. I want my assets putting money in my pocket. I don't want to buy a house that takes money from my pocket. Most people's retirement plans aren't assets, they're liabilities, because they're sucking cash out of that person's pocket for 45 years.
Let me get this straight. You're telling me that you don't want to touch stocks, and yet NVIDIA is up from 44 to 942 in the last 5 years. You wouldn't want a piece of that. No. You say that you won't touch mutual funds or ETFs, and yet the stock market is up from 17 to 5,200 in the last 40 years. No, I wouldn't want a piece of that either. Why would you want that? You tell me that my house, because you're rich dad, tells me that a house isn't an asset, and yet the average home in 1980 was $47,000. And currently, the average home is $417,000. That's not an asset? You tell me that a 401k is not an asset. And yet, if you're making $50,000 a year and you put 6% of your money into a 401k starting at age 20 and retire at age 65, and you get your 6% match, that money at a 12% return, which is what Dave Ramsey says is that the mutual funds do, that's $4.5 million in retirement, which is over a $225,000 income stream at a 5%, just pulling out 5% a year. But you don't want us to own a house, and maybe it's because you own properties that you can rent to us, because the average increase in rent has been over 8% a year. And somehow this is a better thing? Now, I understand what you're trying to tell us to do is buy a house you can rent it out and have it pay you. But again, here's my problem with that. If I buy a house and I rent it out, where am I going to live? I need to live somewhere, because I can't just live for free. Or maybe that's what you're going to do, is just you're going to sit out and you're just going to live with your kids, or live, where are you going to rent? Where are you going to live rent free? Show me that one, because that's my issue with all of this stuff. And I understand I can buy a rental property and I can rent it out, and that's great. And I can buy an asset and it can pay me back. That's great. Those are business things. This is to how to deal with your personal life. Because if you're trying to tell me that you don't have to live anywhere, I'm going to call BS on that. Because again, if you own something that you're living in, guess what you could do? The opportunity cost to rent that out to somebody else is far superior than you renting it. But again, you still have to live somewhere. You still have to eat. You still have to have food. And yes, I understand that you can do certain things with rental properties. I get it. And businesses, and I understand that. But again, the average person doesn't want to do that. They may not want to own a factory. They may not want to own a mine like you. They may not want to own gazillions of dollars of rental properties. Why is it such a problem for somebody to buy a home, pay it off so that they don't have to pay 8% increases every year in rent, have the home, it's done, it's paid for, and have a 401k sitting there in retirement for them, so that basically when they retire, they're going to retire with $5 million in assets? Why is this a problem? This is where you lose people. And it really irks me, because you make people feel like they're nobody and that they're not keeping up with the Joneses if they just don't do what you're trying to get them to do. And again, my guess is you're trying to get them to buy your book. You're trying to get them to buy some stupid plan, and yet you make them feel inferior. They're not. They're doing perfectly fine. All you got to do is take the tools that you have and make them work for you. A 401k is not a liability, you moron. Your home is not a liability, you idiot. I'm sorry. I'm tired of you people making people feel stupid because they're doing the right things. Dickey out.